Welcome to the channel. This is Reliable Rudy. We have 3 minutes to the open. So before we get into this live trading, you guys know I'm not a licensed financial advisor. Everything in this live stream is just me sharing my opinion and giving you guys some entertainment. And one of the trades we're going to be looking at right away is one that we traded last week in UCAR. And we think that we have some sort of trend line build right here. So this is going to be a watch off the open, see if this 75 can hold, which was able to hold throughout the day on Friday. But specifically, if it can get underneath or over top of these lows, which is what it's been wicking into, I'm looking for a green candle and hold off of the bodies. So a test of 8 could mean a retest into these mid 90s before we attempt to break up to these 850s. And one thing that I like is that it filled this gap, so if it can get back on top of this, I think we can get a potential 850 break and push for the high side. So that's what we're going to be watching. We got a few alerts set out there as well. All these are active. We got Enphase, GSL, VTLE, Dish. That's kind of we got a couple seconds here, but just looking for a 6 to hold right here. This one will be on watch later on in the week, and then WBD, Warner Bros. Discovery. This is one that I think could be some sort of a neckline break, but I just want to see if that can hold. Of course, we have SoundHound on watch for today as well, as we have been trading this for a few days now, but we're looking at this as some sort of trend line and hold on top of some of these levels right here, which is what it's wicking into. So we got the open on this candle. Let's go take a look at UCAR, and UCAR giving up the ghost temporarily, but that doesn't mean Warner Bros. Alerted, so we can be patient with that. UCAR giving a gap down originally through this trend line, so let's give this a little bit of time as well and see if these 75s can hold and we can see a green candle attempt to fill this gap. If it does, we could get some sell off, but if it doesn't, then we're looking for a move through that 8. Keep an eye on this SoundHound and also TMC. We did get alerted right off the get-go with Warner Bros. So let's take a look at that. So testing this low support right here. If it wants to give up, which it's starting to wick into temporarily, we think that we have some decent support built in here to the downside on Warner Bros. So we got a descending channel, whether that's set perfect or not. But we're seeing this, if this third point of contact can mean anything. We also have a gap fill down here. So I may try it a little bit down there, but we're going to find out. No real exhaustive movers. Lucid getting a gap up. SIMO, this one looks pretty good for continuation, honestly. If it retraced down to 73s, I think you can get you could see that catch a bid as well. XPEV gapping up from a level. SoundHound pushing through 380s for now, up 4.5%. Let's set an alert. If that comes in back to the gap, we want to be ready. And Lucid reclaiming 6 for the time being. You can see that's kind of right into some levels. That doesn't mean that it can't fight through over here, but it is reclaiming 6 for the time being. Let's see what type of moves we got. Nice trend line hold for the time being on MRO. XLE also a hold of the trend line for another oil name. GSL giving a gap up. How does it act at 80s? Enphase, we are watching Enphase, just sort of this trend line that has been pretty trustworthy, but that doesn't mean that that can't give up and we get a move down into this support range down here. Not hearing the alerts go off anymore. CXAI up 3% on a red to green. Just trying to hold support, but it does have about even strength, and it is at support. I would say that these tens, anything above 10, I would say still holding support. Other than that, these red to greens don't really seem like much at the time being. BVS 3% move, really light volume. NRG is also one that we've been watching. We gap up, we wick into the 200, which is sort of that flat top start of the gap. If it can claim that, there's probably something there. KRE, so I'd expect some banks to have a little bit of movement as well right now. Go look at VTRS real quick. This was also one that we were thinking about right off the open. Just because we had this nice trend line that was building, we wicked into it, and we were expecting it to hold, but we're expecting it to pull in the 70s. So not out of the weeds yet, but you can see the trend line that we got marked, and you can see the sort of flat top that's trying to rest on for the time being. Just wicked up to there, set to close there, holds that price. VCIG also one that if it can hold right around these, if it can hold above 6, that thing could start ripping at any given time, in my opinion. Boyle with a nice move through the gap. XPEV, AI. Soundhound given a holding for the time being on Soundhound right here. Let's go take a look back at UCAR and see if anything's there. So I can see that, you know, we gave up 80s, we wicked all the ways in to test some of these areas over here. Is this going to be anything worthy of anything? Let's go take a look at the 15. So you can see we gap down through that trend line. Is the trend line set properly though? Does it need to be set something like that? Whereas we wick into the level now, holding some of the levels. 750 hold looks pretty decent. Given a negative break to the downside, but that doesn't mean that this wick of buying can't turn into some sort of build up for a potential 8 claim, for a claim of 8. Just because this trend line's holding right now, I wouldn't say that it's anything that is worth rushing into for the time being yet. But looking back over to the right, I can see Soundhound right here, putting in a nice green candle. And we go over to the daily, you can see could be some sort of bull flag formation that's forming. We have this gap that was filled. Consolidation day tries to test the highs, it can't, pulls back to a level. Now we're catching another bid right here. And 75 is holding for Warner Bros. Right now. You can see holding that level for the time being. Land with a nice little curl building right there. Could be something that is brewing, and why I like land is you retraced all the ways back down to the gap, and yesterday or Friday is when we got the gap fill, and a large increase of volume off that gap relative to what it normally does. Normally we're sitting around that 100 to 200K. So a clear difference in the volume for the time being. Stem, sort of the same story. He's gonna need a little bit of time. And Soundhound trying to test fours right now. VCIG continued to hold 6 and continuing to kind of give this churn to the upside. We have 5 minutes left on this candle. There isn't really that much volume, you can see just right around 4,000, and that is why you I kind of like to wait on these, especially if they're light volume. Now, if the volume was picking up and I could see it start to elevate up, sort of even with over here or over here, then I would have maybe tried something there, but I think a little patience here in this Monday morning isn't going to kill me. You can look at some other names. Affirm catching a nice little bid. They have a nice tight channel to the downside. We can go take a look at the daily on this. And this could have been a wedge pattern that we're also breaking out of. And you can see it makes sense that we could retrace back up. Looks gap free to the downside. So that could be a catalyst for 1650 at some point in time during this week. I'm not saying we're going straight up to 1650, but a pretty decent look right there. TMC does have that bull flag kind of pattern. VTLE reclaim the level with the 15-minute on this. And you can see you get the gap up, never retrace down to the gap. Is this going to be a continuation play for the rest of the day? Could be. SoFi filled the gap. Soundhound still churning around right here. Go take a look back at UCAR. As we are kind of red engulfing right into this trend line now. With only 3 minutes left, I don't think that is going to justify me taking a trade on it. Not yet. And now if it leaves a wick and closes around that 750, maybe. But I already am telling myself, hey, we're going to have to fight through 64s, which is also a high built in there as well. Soundhound rejecting 4 for now. See what else we can find. Ray potentially breaking some sort of downtrend. I would say we have a clear descending channel, whether that's set perfectly or not. We'll have to take a look at this SLG. Realty Corp. They got a dividend coming up, 27 cents, about 4% at $27. And UCAR gave up that 7/2, and I would say this is not going to be something that I'm even going to pay attention to the rest of the day. Not getting alerted on anything else. End phase. Uh, Potentially trying to put in the green candles necessary. CLF putting in a nice candle off of the, sort of off the level. We just have these highs marked. We said that we got our positive break over here on this extension now. Are the same buyers going to come in? For the time being, they are. Snapchat, it could be a continuation play if you wanted to try it. Not a half bad green candle. Let's take a look over at PayPal. SLG continues to be a mover as long as BRTX. Light volume on this one. potentially this could be a pullback move in the middle of this green candle on Soundhound, but pushes up to that 4, which is what's been rejecting. Nice trend line build right there on rig. Right around this neckline area as well. Couple nice green candles. See what the daily is looking like on this. You can see a lot better that trend line build. Potential ascending channel to the upside. Mr. Kramer. Oh yeah, you can hear me. Yeah, pretty quiet morning I would say. Is my mic working? Yeah, mic's working. Quiet morning. We were watching a couple names. Soundhound has been one that we've been working pretty good, and we've seen this candle coming in. We're expecting it to reject 4, but if it gets over 4, could be something there. This BRTX is now the top mover on the day. Nice green candle on the daily. I probably missed the move. More than likely, I would have wanted that 640. And maybe be more specifically, yeah, 640 looks pretty good. Soundhound rejecting 4, so that is a little worrisome with this gap at 6 or at 406. Yeah, I mean, it's not too much that I'm really watching. I'm leaving for vacation today, so I don't want to get myself into anything crazy. But I was also watching this SIEN from last week. If it were to have pulled into 35s, might have been one that we tried. I don't know. Is there anything that you're watching? I don't know how much longer I'm going to be streaming for today, but we got a little bit of time. I had an appointment at 10 o'clock I had to be at, so got probably 30 minutes to 40 minutes that we can chop it up. Anything in particular you want to take a look at, I'm more than willing to. Some of these oil names are are more so near that trend line. So nice trend line hold on MRO and comparing that over at XLE. Got a nice green candle that's coming in as well. And then I'd say Intel is clearly one that we've been talking about a few times here and there. And as well as BAC. So BAC, a nice trend line hold from Friday as well. Fastenal leaving a nice bull flag continuation, retest to the previous highs. And we could have something here on TIL at light volume, but it has volume. Gaps up, you expected to pull down to the gap. Now it's putting a green candle, 4 minutes left on this candle through that sort of level right there. And you can see we have a downtrend as well that we could be worrying about right here. So that could be your catalyst for this bigger size U shape if it were to eventually take out 140s or even wick up to 140s. I mean, that's still not terrible from where you're at. 5%, and if you get your breakout, could be potentially more. Yeah, other than that, we're not really watching too much. Maybe this FVRR, if it can just trade sideways and give us a breakout area around this 2640, might not be terrible. Sound on continuing to put this sort of indecision candle in. I actually think I'm gonna end the